What is up? What's up? What's up, everybody? It's your boy Charles. We're checking out Original Gangsters. This is a little documentary I made on from the book Original Gangsters, which is on by Ben Westhoff. It is on Amazon Audible. You can check it out on Audible. But I decided to make a little documentary about Ice-T out of this chapter. Go ahead and check it out, guys. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Hit thumbs up, bro.
OG. Though he's known today as a gritty West Coast rap pioneer, before he was Ice-T, Tracy Marrow was raised in the well-to-do New Jersey suburb of Summit. In the span of 4 years, both Marrow's parents died of heart attacks, and so during junior high at the dawn of the 70s, he was sent to live with his dad's sister in View Park, a middle-class part of South Central. But he attended the combustible Crenshaw High School, which in the early days of gangbanging featured both the Hoover Crips and their rivals in red called the Brims, who were later enveloped into the Bloods. The Crips kept their rag in the left pocket. The Crips pierced their left ear. The Brims did everything in the right, like a mirror image, Ice-T wrote in his memoir, Ice. But before long, members of other gangs started transferring, and soon anyone who attended Crenshaw, whether or not they were even in a gang, was assumed to represent the Crips, and thus eligible for beatdowns from rivals. Ice-T said West Side Crips leader Stanley Tookie Williams sometimes dropped by Crenshaw with his equally muscle-bound comrade, Jamel Barnes. Most days, they dressed identically in farmer overalls with the bib down, showing off their bare chests, shoulders, and arms, Ice-T wrote, adding that at house parties, they were trailed by young Crips who rubbed baby oil on their muscles to impress the girls. Ice-T never formally joined the Crips, but hung around with members he got to know through his girlfriend, who lived in a Hoover Crip neighborhood. Like so many others, he got caught up in gang's primary appeal: affection. My aunt never said she loved me, he wrote. My mother and father were never big on that word. You get to Crenshaw, and you got a male friend saying, "Cuz, ain't nothing never finna happen to you, homie. You safe, cuz. I love you." At age 17, he moved out of his aunt's home. She agreed to give him the $250 monthly Social Security check she'd been receiving on his behalf, which gave him enough for a cheap apartment and cans of Chef Boyardee. Before graduating, he got his 10th grade girlfriend pregnant, and he decided to join the Army, where he spent 4 years serving in Hawaii and becoming an M60 gunner. Upon his release, he returned to crime, stealing jewelry, Rolexes, Gucci bags, as well as Pontiacs.
Yeah, well, it's hard, you know. I mean, when I talk to kids, I talk to them with compassion because I understand the situation that's going on. They think they can beat the system, and it looks like you can do it. But I've been down the road, and I know that I've never seen anybody do it. No kid has ever been hurt over rap. No kid has ever been killed behind any type of music. Like, if you look at a rock group or something like that, you might see what you might consider satanic things on it. But it doesn't mean that these groups are devil worshippers or anything. It just means they're using hardcore imagery to draw in a crowd. Kind of like a kid would do a skull and crossbones on his notebook. He's just being tough.
As his partner started getting serious prison time, his interest in hip-hop began paying off. He'd already penned numerous Crip rhymes, tales of intimidation and triumph, performed aloud in front of friends like poems, rather than being set to music. He said, "Fuck a Crip nigga, this is Brim." So we pulled out the Roscoe. Roscoe said crack. I looked again, the nigga was shooting back. The pimp turned best-selling writer Iceberg Slim inspired Ice-T's stage name. He and his crew would show up at clubs and buy the mic, giving the DJ $500 so he could rap all night. After being discovered in 1983 while rapping to impress girls at a beauty parlor called Good Fred, where he got his perm, he agreed to make a single called The Coldest Rap, spitting all the rhymes he knew at the time. It paid about $250, sold well locally, and enchanted the hip denizens of MacArthur Park underground club radio. There, DJs like The Glove and Egyptian Lover and pop lockers like Lil Coco, and Boogaloo Shrimp held sway. The spot was the height of trendiness. You couldn't buy booze but could bring your own in, and it hosted the Cold Crush Brothers and even Madonna. Madonna drew us up on stage into her show, was trying to undress us and shit, the Glove said. The white kids at the radio knew every word of The Coldest Rap by the time Ice-T performed there. He became the club's house MC, pulling up each weekend in his criminally funded Porsche and appearing in 1984's breakdance-exploitation film, Breakin', which was inspired by the venue. In the rather corny film, the Mary Lou Retton-esque lead teams up with street toughs outfitted in studded belts, chains, and spiked wristbands. Following Breakin', the club moved to a different venue downtown and became known as Radiotron. Another good vibe spot was Lamert Park's iFresh, a rap workshop partly funded by a state grant. Running from 1984 to 1989, it allowed young MCs to hone their crafts, including South Central rapper Yo-Yo, whose high school English teacher turned her onto the program and who would go on to record with Ice Cube. She was really good on her feet, bubbly and really creative right at the tip of her fingers, said iFresh organizer Ben Caldwell. Not encouraged, however, was Eazy-E, who refused to capitulate to Caldwell's demands to jettison his misogynist lyrics. iFresh later morphed into the famed weekly open mic session held at the nearby Good Life Cafe, which spawned the Project Blowed sessions. Before things got gangsta, iFresh and radio characterized an optimistic era in Los Angeles when racially and socioeconomically mixed groups of kids got down together. Even New York's king hip-hop impresario Africa Bambaataa was impressed with the LA scene. It brought together punk rockers, new wavers, hip-hoppers, he said. You could hear funk, reggae, all up in one club. It was like George Clinton said, one nation under a groove. As for Ice-T, by now he'd developed something of an identity crisis. In the early 80s, he wore then-fashionable tight leather get-ups, spikes, and biker gloves, patterned after New York artists like Melly Mel from the Furious Five. His early songs weren't very tough. But one day, while he and his friend Randy Mack were jamming to the Beastie Boys song, Hold It Now, Hit It, Mack made a bold suggestion. Ice-T should abandon the costume and rap about the real-life details of his recently cast-off criminal lifestyle. The resulting landmark 1986 song, 6 in the Morning, embraced what was happening on the streets of South Central. Named for the LAPD's early hours battering ram raids, the song's protagonist flees the police, beats women, and mows down adversaries. It soon became a local hit. Gangster Boogie. The poet and spoken word performer Gil Scott-Heron, best known for The Revolution Will Not Be Televised, was undoubtedly influential on early hip-hop, as were politically minded spoken word groups like The Last Poets and The Watts Prophets. But much of early rap was bawdy entertainment, influenced by the pimpadelic black comedy tradition, which included Rudy Ray Moore's dirty joke-telling character, Dolomite, as well as the proudly scatological comedian and musician, Blowfly. You can also see the influence of traditional African-American arts like the insult game, The Dozens, and toasting, which features braggadocious rhyming stories of a character's exploits. As the 70s turned into the 80s, disco, raunchy comedy records, and rap all began to merge, and it can be hard to tell the difference.
Picking out the hardcore rapper to follow.
It rolls out in all different ways. Like these T-shirts with these signs on them, they are absolutely ludicrous. With this back the whatever up, and niggas are not whatever, and bees ain't nothing but it.
Yeah.
I mean, it just keeps mushrooming and rolling over. It's a domino effect.
The question is, why do the kids like that?
They like it because no one's telling them, no one's taking the time to talk to a lot of children and make them think.
No, it's because of the conditions
And
around
the
them set up
society,
that and makes that turn out to be what's attractive.
Sex, homosexuality, prostitution, and violence. Its sing-songy rap is performed by King Monkey, the alias of comedian Jimmy Thompson. But it, like most early hip-hop, lacked the hard, percussion-driven sound we came to associate with rap. That would dominate after Run DMC helped change things with their 1983 song, Sucker MCs, which popularized a sparse drum machine beat that sounded great out of boomboxes. Run DMC weren't gangsta rappers, but they influenced the man credited with launching the gangsta sound, Philadelphia's Schoolie D. Born Jesse Bonds Weaver Jr., he was raised in West Philadelphia as one of 9 kids and witnessed a pair of murders growing up. An intimidating presence, he wrote, performed, and pressed up his own records. Once brandishing a firearm at a record plant employee he accused of bootlegging his work. The protagonist of his 1984 track, Gangster Boogie, deals weed, macks the ladies, and flashes his 8mm at a would-be jacker. But the song Schoolie D released the next year, called PSK, What Does It Mean?, is considered the first gangster rap song. PSK shouts out Schoolie D's neighborhood gang, Parkside Killers, and follows the exploits of a local troublemaker who's driving around town smoking weed and drinking beer. Got to the place and who did I see? A sucker-ass nigga trying to sound like me. Put my pistol up against his head and said, you sucker-ass nigga, I should shoot you dead. Schoolie D didn't initially feature such strong language in his songs, but began gaining attention for his music when he started talking the way people talk on the streets, he said. PSK became a phenomenon. It's got an eerie lo-fi quality, with huge drums and vicious scratching reverberating as if throughout a cavernous hall. My jaw dropped, wrote Ice-T about the first time he heard it. I turned to my homie and said, yo, this shit is so dusted. It sounded different than regular hip-hop. It sounded like you were high. PSK inspired Ice-T's 6 in the Morning, which sounds even more like the tough hip-hop to come. Produced by the unknown DJ, an enigmatic early world-class Wrecking Crew member who refused to let anyone take his picture, it succeeds through its details. Our hero's squeaking Adidas, his plush truck, his associate's chiming pager, the march of the battering ram. Got a knot in my pocket weighing at least a gram, gold on my neck, my pistol's close at hand. I'm a self-made monster of the city streets, remotely controlled by hard hip-hop beats. I rap about what I know, Ice-T said in 1986. If I grew up in a nice neighborhood and lived in a $500,000 house, I'd be rapping about gold silverware and maids. But I didn't. I grew up in South Central LA. At the time he recorded 6 in the Morning, Ice-T actually was living in Hollywood, but he remained Adidas-clad, thin, and a bit paranoid, with submachine guns hanging on his apartment wall as a form of decoration. The song was a revelation. When Ice-T performed it at a South Bronx movie house in 1986, it went over like gangbusters with New York kingmakers Rakim and KRS-One. It shocked people when he said, "We beat the bitch down in the goddamn street," said Africa Islam, another Ice-T producer. Back then, people didn't associate Los Angeles with hood stories. We thought it was all Hollywood and Malibu Beach. Ice-T would be the first rapper signed to Sire Records, Madonna's label. Meanwhile, in 1987, KRS-One, Scott LaRock, and D-Nice, together Boogie Down Productions, released an early classic gangsta album, Criminal Minded. Nonetheless, Terry just unloaded on him, said Martinez. I could see him getting angrier and angrier. I heard your fucking track, Dre said, in Terry's recollection. Fuck you, bitch. Fuck you, Mr. Ultimate Breaks and Beats, she yelled back, referencing a popular series of vinyl albums containing sample-ready breakbeats. One more fucking word, he added, a threat she ignored. And he punched me in the eye, she said. And when I didn't go down, he punched me in the mouth. He punched her hard, really hard.
For more of these fascinating stories and true crimes, subscribe to Charles Arness World. Thanks for watching.
Looking for a professional photographer for your next big event? Need video of your special day? Then look no further. For $100 an hour, have a professional photographer or videographer shoot your wedding, birthday party, quinceañera, bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah, anniversary party, or whatever your special occasion may be. Highlight your event with professional, crisp photos and video. Check out Charles Arness Photography on Instagram, as well as book us for your next event. Must live in the Southern California area.